Welcome to Simply Happy Conversations, a podcast that teaches you how to create a clutter-free, functional and simply happy life. I'm Narelle King, a professional organiser who supports families with practical steps to simplify their lives and create a more organised home. I'm passionate about supporting neurodivergent families and individuals like myself. Are you sick of stepping on blocks at bedtime, hunting for dolls' shoes, missing puzzle pieces, and spending 20 minutes or more packing away the same pile of toys every night? Today, we're turning toy chaos into calm with a system that actually sticks. I'll walk you through 4 simple steps, plus real-life tweaks like toy rotation, missing parts, purgatory, and how to stop puzzle pieces from living under the couch, and reset strategies that will take minutes, not hours. Let's jump into this solo podcast episode. Thanks for joining me for today's solo episode, where I'll be sharing a simple, repeatable plan to declutter toys, set boundaries with containers, and also reset a playroom in under 5 minutes. I know it sounds a bit unbelievable, but if you use this 4-step system, it will just cut toy clutter, and it will then help you to set up some zones that help your kids to spark that independent play. And also it helps to create storage that kids can then maintain. And that is the part which is going to help reduce the cleanup to less than 5 minutes. So the reason we need to organize the toys and even declutter is when there's too many toys, it actually causes decision fatigue for kids as well as grown-ups. We know it affects us, but it also affects kids as well. So if there's fewer toys, it means that there's less fights between siblings, there's actual deeper play, and there might even be then the 5-minute reset pack up. When everything has a home and it's not overflowing with toys and it's easy for kids to access, then it makes for a quicker cleanup at the end of the day. So I'll walk you through the 4-step process. I'll also share with you a little bit about toy rotations and also how to set up a playroom to encourage independent play. And finally, some troubleshooting that some of them may relate to you, and I'll answer those at the end. So let's start with the 4th step. Number 1 step is decide on your goal. Is it that you want fewer toys so there are more opportunities for play? Or is it that you want a 5-minute cleanup? Or maybe it's actually both of those, or there might even be some other goal. Step 2 is to then sort and declutter the toys. I suggest that you select just one category to declutter at a time. So this might be like blocks or dolls or vehicles, animals, puzzles, dress-ups, putting the items into the categories. So you may have like toys everywhere. So that is the first step, is actually to get them back into their categories and then decide on the one category you're going to start with. Then you need either plastic bags or paper bags and containers, and you're going to sort into 4 different areas. Toys you're going to keep, the toys that are donating, ones that maybe need repair, and then the ones that are going in the rubbish or recycled, depending what they're actually made of. So if you have those 4 areas, that is what you're going to organize your toys into. Another thing is it maybe even removing puzzle pieces or sets, things that are paired together like dolls and outfits or tracks and cars, and placing those together and maybe putting them to the side and doing those last. You might even set up a find your parts container, which means that at the end of every week, when you've put all those little pieces together, you then go, okay, can I find where they go? If not, maybe it's even release them and let them go. You really want to try and involve your kids in part of this decluttering process. I know they're not going to stay there for like an hour or up to 2 hours. Some kids do, but most won't. But you want to give them the choice. And this is really great modeling for them as they get older. They then understand that feeling of when they're letting something go, and it might feel a bit uncomfortable, but they've experienced it when they were younger. You're going to offer them choices, whether they want to keep something, let it go, or donate it. And you're going to try and avoid shaming them. Say, oh, grandma gave you that. Oh, you should really keep it. Because if the child doesn't want to keep it, and they've already said no, they're happy to let go of it, you then take it aside and keep it yourself if you would like that toy because it evokes a memory in yourself. This is the perfect opportunity for modeling letting go with kids. And some of the scripts that I would use with kids when I'm working with them is I might say, pick your 5 favorite toys and they're going to go on the shelf, and the rest of them might go into toy rotation if the family has enough space for us to store toys in another area. Another one might be, which are your favorite cars? And then maybe there's a number that you give them, 10 cars, and then the rest, maybe they offer that they may like to donate some of them. So start with the easiest categories, not the ones that are sentimental. I find stuffed toys are really sentimental to a lot of people. I would avoid starting with those. And some questions that you might ask: is it loved? Is it used weekly or building a skill or an interest at the moment? Is it complete, safe, and age appropriate? And do you have duplicates? And maybe depending on how many children you have, you may need to have duplicates because they need to play with it at the same time. But otherwise, it may be letting one of them go. Step 3 is to now look at the storage of the toys. The reason I don't do that as a second step is because once you've decluttered, you have less toys. You don't need to maybe have as much storage. You can choose, though, the container first if you wanted to, because that could be the boundary, and you say, we're only keeping what fits. Everything else is either put into donation or a toy rotation, again, if you have that space. You're going to think about the toys that you want down low are the ones that are easy for them to access. You want it to be at your kids' eye level so that they can see the toys, then they're more likely to play with them. I definitely recommend no lids on containers. It means it's so much easier for kids to get into and to also put things back away. Adding a lid just adds another step, and we don't want to add any extra steps, especially for kids. I generally would put one category into one container, unless like there might be Barbie dolls, for example, and I may then put the clothes in with the dolls, and it might be in 2 sections, but it's one container. If you are going to have a toy rotation, I recommend between sort of an 8 and 15 litre container is a good one to hold the toys in with a lid, and that way you can stack them and then you just rotate in and out. And I'll go through that process after I've gone through all the steps. Another thing is to think about trays. When you have those shallow trays, it's a great way for invitation to play and to set up so that kids are then seeing some certain toys together and then are more inclined to want to play with them. Zip pouches can be really good, especially if they're clear, for sets, for puzzles, for games even, cards, magnet toys. Think about the shelving. I really like a low cube shelving that's lengthways, or a bookcase with open containers so that it's at eye level, it's easy to access, but it's also using a little bit of that vertical space. A couple of other items to invest in are small rugs or even mats. These are great for creating zones within your play area. And if you're thinking about doing messy play, I highly recommend checking out Rudy Nudie design mats. These are waterproof, and so if you're doing messy play or water play, it's not going to get onto the floor, it's going to go onto the mat, and then you just wash it later and hang it out to dry. Magazine holders are really good for puzzles because they're vertical then, not stacked on top of each other. Also, books and games are great to store in magazine holders. I recommend having a photo of the actual toy and a simple word. So, for example, if it was cars, you'd have a picture of some of their actual cars and then maybe the words underneath it, cars. Another thing to consider is color coding zones. Or the category of toys. So if it's like a toy for building, they might be blue. If it's a toy for creating, they may be green, and so on, especially if you're going to be using a toy rotation. This will help with organizing and putting things in and out. I'm going to just share a little bit about toy rotations because I've already mentioned them. I would think about doing 3 to 6 rotations, and those toys are like resting toys, and using containers and labels with photos for the categories is also going to help with rotating them in and out. Now, you might swap the items every week. It might be every 2 weeks, or it might be just when interest is, dipping and you notice that they're getting bored with the toys. Swapping 4 to 6 items for each category is a great way of doing it. I actually work with some kids and they do it themselves now. So I will take them out to the toy library. They'll bring some, we'll put them back away, and then they'll collect something from each of the categories. What I find works really well is keeping favorites out and just rotating those maybe toys. It just means they're then feeling fresh when they come back out. Also thinking about a novelty, which might be seasonal. So it might be, Christmas, or it may be around Easter time, Halloween, or it might be a new item that you found at an op shop, which might just refresh interest as well. And if you need some help organizing this, I absolutely love setting up toy libraries or toy rotations. Please reach out. I'd love to help you, even if it's a virtual call. Then there is step 4. Now, step 4 is one of the most important. It is maintenance. A way of maintaining your toy room is daily. And doing a 3 to 5 minute reset. Maybe if they're young enough kids, you could use a song, the tidy up songs, and it could be before meals. It could be before lunch and before dinner. It might be you set a timer. And it's like, let's see if we can do it within the 5 minutes. If the shelves are labeled and they're also marked on the containers, it's going to make a big difference, and it's going to really help kids with putting their things away. Having a small broom, a dustpan, a duster is another fun thing to add in that helps kids with cleaning up their space. Then weekly, you might do a 10-minute shelf audit and look at which things are in the wrong spot, and also maybe fixing up sets. And this might be your opportunity to then also do a toy rotation if you have the space. Then monthly, I would look at having a look at the toys. Is there anything that's broken? Is there anything that the kids have lost interest in that maybe it's time that it could be let go or given on to someone else? Maybe there's someone they know. And then either before or after every birthday and then every holiday celebration that gifts are given, I would then do an audit and look at like 1 in, 1 out, and just declutter, because this is the perfect opportunity because they're getting fresh things in, and there might be toys that are not age appropriate anymore and they've lost interest in, and that they could move on. And if you're like most families, they actually don't have the space to be adding more toys, so they need to let go of some of them. Now, when it comes to setting up your playroom to actually encourage play, there's a few points that I would look at. Number 1 is creating simple zones, thinking about a build area where you might have your Lego and blocks or those magnet tiles. You might have a pretend area where you have like a kitchen, or it could be a dress up section. Another zone is the create zone. And this is maybe where we have like our arts and crafts supplies, those toilet rolls that you've been hanging on to and boxes. The next one would be read. So where you might have books, and also a move. And the move might be like cars or things that have got wheels that actually move along the ground. Using open-ended bases like blocks or Play-Doh or water and one novel toy will help to increase play. And using a rug or a mat to create that zone also signals to them. It might be, let's build here, or let's create here. Maybe it's even a table and chairs that you have for the creating area. So number 2 to help encourage play is to set up an invitation to play. This means that you have front-facing invitations. So the books are facing out. You might have all your little items on a tray for them to play with. You might have a puzzle and you've actually started one part of the puzzle as an example. If I've worked in a client's home and I've decluttered toys, I will set up like an invitation to play with maybe the teddy bears and also like the kitchen items, like they're having a tea party. Or maybe it's using dolls and setting them up like it's a bath and there's clothes to dress them. Whatever it is, you're encouraging them to come and play because it's already started. And number 3 is to rotate the toys rather than just refilling and adding more toys. Swapping toys weekly or after interest dips really is going to help reduce the clutter, but is also going to keep your kids engaged in play. When my kids were younger, we actually were involved in a toy library. This was fantastic because I would then rotate on a fortnightly basis toys, and that way we didn't actually have to buy toys, and we would have our basics, but my kids really enjoyed going fortnightly to swap toys over that we didn't have and play with it for a couple of weeks and then take it back and get something new. So rather than even setting up your own rotation, it may be looking at a local toy library in your area. Now, I've gone through a couple of troubleshooting problems that I hear about regularly, and I've also got some solutions for you to share. So the first one is a small home, and so there's no storage. So the solution for this is to go vertical. So looking at adding wall shelves or even over the door pockets. Maybe it's underneath the couch and it's a rolling containers that come out. Maybe it's an ottoman that actually has storage inside it. You're going to have fewer categories, but possibly bigger bins may be your solution. The next problem I hear regularly is kids just dump the containers. So they tick over the containers just to get the toys out, to have a look what's in there. So something that will help this is just reduce the items that are in the container. So it means there's going to be less items to pick up. How overwhelming is that when you've tipped a large container, you're looking for one thing, you don't want to pick that back up and put it away. And it's the same for a little kid. Imagine them visually seeing a whole container of Lego. That is really overwhelming at the thought of picking up all of those things. Another thing is maybe making the categories smaller. So if it is one big category and you have a lot of toys for that, maybe you can break it up. So it might be, a great example is Paw Patrol. I've had Paw Patrol, which comes with really big pieces, but then there's the little characters. So this way it means that they could then just get out the characters, maybe 1 or 2 of the cars if you have several boxes of it. If you have 2 containers storage of them. The next problem is I hear regularly is that kids just ignore the shelves and they're saying, I'm bored, I've got nothing to play with. This is definitely then an overwhelm problem. So just displaying fewer toys on the shelves, also maybe adding 1 fresh invitation to play per day might be what you need for your child. They may be more of a sensory seeker, or it's maybe needing to move it down to their eye level. The next problem is that the sets are always incomplete. And this one is a bit tricky. Something I find that works really well is a zip pocket that's clear because you can then see what's in it, and adding a photo because that shows what's supposed to be in it. It also helps if it is a puzzle so that they can see what actually the puzzle will look like when they've done it. It would be 1 set per zip pouch. Okay, this is problem I hear of all the time, is that art is just too chaotic. My solution for this is to just limit what's out. Maybe you also have your own supplies, and this is only used when you're around and you have the time and space to be able to do it. Maybe it's just keeping those messy items in your own caddy somewhere else, and the things that are easy for kids to use are out on display for them. This one is the one that I probably hear the most, is that I just can't maintain it. This is definitely about having less toys. It's also about you modeling tidying up and not just saying you need to tidy up your toys. That's a huge open-ended question, whereas we need to break that down. Could you put the books on the shelf Or could you put the blocks away, making sure that there's clear labels on the containers? Maybe it's also making the pictures bigger or the words smaller, or maybe the colours need to be brighter. You may also like to then mark the shelf with the label also so they know where the container needs to go. There is so many fun games that you could play and gamify packing up as well. And the final problem I do here is that they're getting too many gifts from, say, family members or grandparents. And the solution for this may be to have limited containers as your gentle boundaries. Just saying, we love gifts, but when this container is full, we rotate or donate. Another thing to do is to share a wish list. This might include experience options rather than just toys. A couple of safety notes is to make sure that the furniture is anchored to the wall and securing any cords that might be coming down from anything, and making sure all the small parts for under 3s are put up high, and supervising if it's water or sensory play. If today helped, I'd love for you to share this episode with a friend who's maybe currently in a chaos of toys right now. Subscribing is the easiest way to get the organising ideas every week. And then if you're ready to reclaim your floor and your evenings, grab the toy organisation guide. So this is decluttering, storage and playroom setup. So it's what I've gone through today, but it's giving you a step-by-step guide so that you have fewer toys, more play and 5-minute cleanups. So you can head to the show notes or to the website and grab it from the resource page. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. Sick of stepping on blocks at bedtime, hunting for dolls' shoes, puzzle pieces, and spending 20 minutes packing away the same pile of toys every night? Our toy organisation 4-step system will help you cut down on toy clutter, set up zones that spark independent play, and create storage that kids can easily maintain. Let's create a calmer, more organised playroom that makes cleanups quick and easy and under 5 minutes. Head to simplyhappy.com.au and click on the resources tab to get instant access today. I'd like to acknowledge the Wathaurong people of the Kulin Nation on which this podcast is recorded as the traditional custodians of the land. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging.